Picture one of the greatest minds of the Roman Republic, Cicero, the unparalleled orator, philosopher, and legal theorist, choosing a different path. Instead of stepping into the volatile world of Roman politics, imagine if he had focused solely on his intellectual pursuits, leaving the political arena to figures like Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, and Octavian. What would Cicero's legacy look like today if he had never been drawn into the brutal power struggles of his time? Could he have become Rome's greatest philosopher, an intellectual giant, untouched by the failure and betrayal that ultimately led to his downfall? Let's explore this alternate reality and consider how Cicero's life might have unfolded had he chosen to remain an observer of politics rather than a participant. At his core, Cicero was always an intellectual. Even during his political career, his writings on philosophy, ethics, and law were deeply influential. Works such as De Officiis, on duties, and De Republica, on the Republic, are still studied today for their insights into justice, moral responsibility, and the role of the state. Cicero's philosophical works often tackled questions of virtue, justice, and the nature of leadership. His admiration for Stoicism, particularly its emphasis on rationality and moral duty, reflects that his heart was as much in the world of ideas as it was in the Senate chambers. Had Cicero chosen to devote himself fully to philosophy, his works might have rivaled those of Plato and Aristotle in both scope and influence. In this alternate reality, Cicero could have become a historian like Cassius Dio, chronicling the rise and fall of Roman leaders without being entangled in their struggles. His keen political insights, combined with his rhetorical brilliance, would have made him the perfect chronicler of Rome's turbulent political landscape. Instead of trying to save the Republic from within, he could have documented its collapse, providing future generations with a first-hand intellectual account. Cicero's entry into politics came with great risk and eventual tragedy. He was deeply involved in the power struggles between the Senate, Caesar, and Antony, which ultimately led to his execution. But if Cicero had stayed out of politics, his life and legacy might have been very different. By avoiding the political arena, Cicero could have focused on his passion for philosophy and literature. He may have penned more groundbreaking works on ethics, rhetoric, and the nature of government, cementing his place as Rome's greatest intellectual. Without the distractions and dangers of politics, Cicero would have had the freedom to fully explore the questions that fascinated him: justice, duty, and the role of reason in human affairs. Furthermore, Cicero's political involvement earned him many powerful enemies, most notably Mark Antony, who ordered his execution during the proscriptions of the Second Triumvirate. Had Cicero remained apolitical, he would have avoided making such enemies. Without his blistering attacks on Antony and his attempts to manipulate Octavian, Cicero might have lived a long life, untouched by the brutal political reprisals that marked the end of the Republic. In this alternate timeline, Cicero's legacy would be that of an intellectual giant, untouched by the failures of his political career. Without the stain of political miscalculation, his reputation as a philosopher, historian, and orator might have even eclipsed that of his actual legacy. Cicero's philosophical writings demonstrate a mind deeply engaged with justice, governance, and morality. Without the distractions of politics, he could have expanded on these ideas, producing works that might have rivaled the philosophical depth of Plato. Cicero had already introduced the ideas of Greek philosophy to Rome. In this alternate world, he might have become the bridge between Greek thought and Western political philosophy, shaping the intellectual history of Europe for centuries. Alternatively, Cicero could have channeled his sharp political instincts into historical writing. As a historian, he might have documented the fall of the Republic with the precision of Cassius Dio or Tacitus, offering future generations a detailed philosophical analysis of Rome's collapse. His ability to see the moral dimensions of political decisions would have made him a unique historian, one whose works were as much about the ethics of leadership as they were about the events themselves. Cicero's real-life career demonstrates the inherent tension between intellectual pursuits and political ambition. As much as he was a thinker, he was also a politician, and his ambition to save the Republic drove him into the thick of Rome's most dangerous political battles. This ambition, combined with his belief in his own indispensability, led to his eventual downfall. Cicero's belief that he could restore the Republic was noble, but misguided. He was so committed to his ideals that he failed to see the changing realities of Roman power. In many ways, his political ambition clouded his intellectual judgment, leading him into a series of miscalculations, such as his endorsement of Caesar's assassination and his attempt to manipulate Octavian. Had he stayed out of politics, he might have avoided these mistakes, focusing instead on the intellectual pursuits he excelled in. Cicero's downfall shows what can happen when intellectuals venture too far into the realm of politics. His talents as an orator and thinker made him influential, but his political ambitions led him to overreach. He believed that his intellectual and rhetorical skills would be enough to navigate the treacherous waters of Roman politics, but he was ultimately undone by the sheer brutality of the power struggles surrounding him. In this counterfactual world, Cicero's decision to stay out of politics would have spared him the tragic fate that awaited him in our timeline. Instead of being remembered as a brilliant orator whose political career ended in failure, Cicero might have been revered as Rome's greatest philosopher, an intellectual who lived in exile from the political storms of his time, but whose ideas shaped the future of Western thought. This alternate path for Cicero reminds us of the delicate balance between intellectualism and ambition. While Cicero's desire to save the Republic was noble, it led him into a world where ideals often took a back seat to raw power. Had he remained in the world of ideas, Cicero's legacy might have been even greater, showing that sometimes the wisest choice is to stay away from the political arena entirely. If you enjoyed exploring this alternate reality of Cicero's life, be sure to like and subscribe for more thought-provoking historical content. Share your thoughts in the comments about how you think Cicero's legacy would have changed if he had remained solely an intellectual. Join us as we continue to delve into the lives of influential figures and the choices that shaped our world.